Hello YouTube chess lovers, my friends. This is Gunjan here. Welcome to the 18th episode of Dirty Chess Tricks. This is the last and the final episode of my tricky repruta against the French defense, which arises after the move order e4, e6. And here my recommendation is you play the two knights attack system, which start with the move knight to f3, d5, and now the move knight to c3. Now all the sideline moves which I have highlighted by the green arrows, I have covered in my earlier Dirty Chess Tricks series 16th and the 17th episode. So if you haven't watched them, I strongly insist you to watch those videos and then continue with this video. In this video, we are going to concentrate on the main line which arises after the move knight to f6, which is in fact choice of many higher ranked players and especially players above 2000. Now against this move, I'm going to show you a very high profile trick which you certainly want to consider in your FIDE rating tournament. The reason is the line is a very forceful one. It has a tremendous amount of depth, and so far I have catched few title players with this trick. So you can see the potential of this line. Okay, here white will continue with the move e5, so attacking the knight, and the most obvious response from the black is knight to d7, where we have to continue with the move d4. Here black responds with the move c5. So this is all pretty much theory, the tiniest variation of the French defense. And here I'm going to suggest a very tricky move, that is bishop to g5. Now especially if you are playing a short version of the game, there is a chance that your opponent immediately play this move, that is bishop to e7, which is outright mistake. The simple refutation is you simply take this bishop, and after queen recaptured, now you can see this juicy hole on d6 where you are going to plonk your knight with a ease after the move knight to b5. So we have two threats, and in fact black cannot parry both of them. So for example, let's say if black tries to play the move knight to a6, saving the fork, then we can play knight to d6 check, king to f8, and after bishop captures, pawn captures, and the move c3, not only white consolidate his pawn chain, but black has a double pawn on the queen side and his king is clearly misplaced. So bishop to e7 is a big mistake at this point. Now as per the theory, the main move over here is queen to b6. But if your opponent plays other moves, for example, let's say queen to c7 or queen to a5, then I have covered a sample line against those variations in the PGN, which is available in the description. So kindly go through the PGN. So the only move we are considering over here is queen to b6. After that, white is going to play a very tricky move, that is d capture c5. And at first sight it looks suicidal because not only you are giving up the center, but it allows black to develop his piece with a tempo. But there is a cute point behind it. Now the first thing you need to know is, at this point black cannot capture the b2 pawn. If we capture the b2 pawn, then our first tricks come into the picture, that is you play the move knight to b5, so we have a threat on c7 square. And if black plays here knight to a6, then the simplest is you play rook to b1. So the only square left for the queen is to take the a2 pawn, and afterwards we are continue with the move rook to a1, hitting the queen again. And if white wants, white can have the draw easily, but white has a better response after queen to b2, the lethal move rook captures a6, and white is a clear piece up. The reason is black cannot capture this piece because at the end black king will be checkmated. So queen to b2 is not possible. That leads to the only reply, that is bishop captures c5. And at first sight it looks like white has made a blunder because now black is attacking two spots and it's nearly impossible for white to defend both the spots. Anyways, white will continue with his tricky journey with the move queen to d2. Now especially when you're playing a classical game where opponent has ample time to think about it, he will definitely play the move bishop captures f2, And in fact, this is the best move in the situation as per the engine. Now instead of bishop captures f2, what happens if black plays other moves such as castle or nc6? Well, I'm afraid they are not as good as bishop captures f2. And once again, I have covered those lines in the PGN, so later on you can have a look at them. Now queen to b2 has the same problem as earlier. I want you to pause this video and find out what is wrong with this move. Okay, I hope you find this move, that is rook to b1, attacking the queen, queen to a3, now knight to b5, hitting the queen, and it looks like black is doing counter attacking with the move queen to a2, but after knight to c7 check, so the queen has to go to the f8 square, and now you simply save your rook with the move rook to c1, and white emerge here with at least an exchange. Okay, let's see what happens after bishop captures f2. Well, black's idea over here is when white captures the piece after queen captures f2, black will play this wonderful move queen captures b2, so attacking two pieces which cannot be defended by the white. At the end, black will emerge with a 2-pawn advantage, and indeed it's true, black is going to regain his piece with an advantage, but white has an amazing trick up the sleeve. Can you guess white's next move? It's unbelievable that white has this move, that is king to d2, so sacrificing the whole rook. Whoa, well, what's the big idea? Now the first thing you have to notice over here that black cannot decline this, because if he plays moves such as knight to c6, then after a simple move bishop to d3, white is going to connect his rook, and now black is a simple piece down. I won a very quick game against a higher rated, where the game continues with the move knight captures e5, but after knight captures, and queen to c5, so there's a mate on e7. Black blocked the mate with the move f6, but to his horror, he find out that after rook h to b1, black lost the queen. So you can see this line is very forceful one, as after bishop captures f2, it's a kind of black who fallen into the quicksand where to come out he has to play so many accurate moves. Okay, queen captures a1, what else? And here comes the second stunner. Can you find white's next reply? Well, it's amazing that white can play over here bishop to b5 and sacrificing second rook. So amazing. Well, once again black cannot decline this offer, because if he plays the move such as queen to b2, then after queen to c5, so we are threatening a mate on e7, and after the move f6, e captures f6 and g captures f6 and bishop captures f6, there is no way white can save this mate. So the forcing move again, black has to accept the second rook, that is queen captures h1, and now the whole idea of white is revealed after the next move, that is queen to c5. So white is simply threatening queen to e7 checkmate, and believe it or not, but it looks so scary. Even though white is allowing this check, that is queen captures b2, and after king to c1, if you count the pieces at this point, white is 2 rook and 3 pawns down, but still winning. That's the beauty about this line. Okay, in order to save the mate, black has to give up the queen. So either black can play over here knight to c6 first, or queen captures g5, in any order, but the result will be same. So for example, here black continue with the move queen captures g5, and after knight captures, white has a threat of capturing the bishop. If knight to a6, then queen to d6 is a very strong reply. In other words, black has to forcefully play the move knight to c6. Afterwards, white is going to capture this knight. After b recapture and queen capture, we are hitting the rook. So the first reply is rook to b8. And still at this point, it looks like black is fine because black has a 2 extra pawn. But the problem over here is his pieces are not coordinated. And this is where white exploit the nature of the game by following dazzling reply. I hope you guessed it. Yes, it's knight captures d5. Boom! Well, instead of knight captures d5, you can also play the move knight captures e6, but it leads to a draw's position, and I have covered this line in the PGN. So kindly go through it. So here we are going to concentrate on the move knight captures d5. Now this is a sacrifice which black cannot deny. For example, if let's say black plays the move bishop to b7 at this point, then the simplest reply is you play knight to c7 check, and after king to f8, queen captures knight, which leads to the checkmate. And instead of bishop to b7, if black plays moves such as castle at this point, then this is also a blunder move. The simple reason is after knight to e7 check, king to h8, and knight captures c8. If black recapture the piece, then we take the knight and remain ahead in material. So black has to forcefully play the move knight to e5. But after queen to e4, so we are threatening checkmate on h7. So black has to play knight to g6. But after knight to d6, once again white emerge with extra material and winning position. Okay, let's consider the most critical reply, that is e captures d5. Well, afterwards, it's very obvious that white is going for the throat, and the move you should play is e6. And black response is force. Black cannot accept this pawn. The simple reason is after f captures e6 and queen captures e6, if king to f8, then queen to f7 is a checkmate. So the force reply over here is king to d8. Afterwards, we have the following sequence, that is knight to c7 check. So forking king and a rook, king to c7. Now we will enjoy some king dance after queen check, king to b7, queen check, king to c7, queen check, king to b7, and finally we take the rook. Point is, these pieces are misplaced and black king side pawns are about to disappear. So the one game continues over here with the move knight to b6 attacking the queen. I played queen to e4 check, and after king to c7 and queen captures pawn, I managed to capture the g7 pawn with the ease and then slowly advance my h pawn and win the game. Okay, any other moves doesn't make any sense, you can check out with your computer. The only move which keep the black in the game, that is f6. Well, now think about this trick. So far we have played 18 moves, and how many of your opponents are going to play this much accurate until 18 moves? Even though they are title player, I don't care. To see this line in that much depth, it's really hard, and that's why this is very effective even in the FIDE tournaments. Well, after f6, I'm recommending that you should continue with the move queen to d6. So we have a simple idea that we want to capture this knight and then capture the rook. So black doesn't have time to capture our piece. The force reply over here is rook to b6. Afterwards, we are going to capture this knight, and after bishop recapture, we are going to play the move queen captures d5. So still black doesn't have time to capture this piece because we have queen check coming up, nabbing the rook in the corner. So black has to first defend his rook with the move rook to f8, and now we are going to play the move knight to e4. And it's really amazing that after sacrificing your two rooks, if you look at this position, it's more or less equal. But the engine will give slight advantage to the white. The only reason is these pieces are not coordinated. They are sitting in the back rank and not doing anything. Now to illustrate the power of this position, I like to show you my game where I beat a FIDE master, where he continued with the move g5. I continue with the move knight to c5, so hitting the bishop. He played bishop to c8, and now I start attacking black queen side with the move a4. My opponent responded with the move rook to f7. He desperately wants to activate his rooks. No matter, I continue with the move a5. He played rook to b4. And now a very strong move, that is knight to e4. So white's idea is to create a family fork, and in fact this position is almost lost to the black. In the game, my opponent was in the time trouble and he played this horrific blunder, that is rook to e7. Kindly pause the video and find a finishing blow. Okay, I hope you find this easy continuation, that is knight to f6 check, king to f8, and now queen to g8 is a checkmate. And this is what happened when the king is naked and playing around the board. Well, I hope you like this very high profile trick in the French main line. Now the best part is, if you check this line in Mega Database 2016, there are hardly few games played in this line. That's why it is a big surprise weapon for you in the professional tournaments. Well, good luck to you for playing this line in your game. Thank you for watching this video. Feel free to like, subscribe and comment on my video, and I'll meet you very soon. Bye and take care.
I told you that c captures d4 create an amazing high profile trick just in the fourth move of the game, then you will be amazed.
So let's say here we start with the move c6 followed by the d6. Queen goes to the c7 square, and meantime when white plays knight to f3, we are going to pin that knight with bishop to g4,